to begin in just a few moments. Bear with me just a few moments while we get this started here. Sorry for the noise there. We will begin momentarily. Sorry, usually I have some music starting up, but I do not have any prepared for this particular stream. But I do have a nice snowy background that's going to be showing up, so bear with me just a few more moments. Hello everyone, welcome. Viathan is here. Please join us in chat room. Anybody who joins in, be glad to have you here. I will be telling a couple of ghost stories today. And, well, one will be mine. One will be a funny little tale, I hope, that should get people laughing. And another will be a few poems. And they give just a few moments for anybody out there to join in. I hope all is well. Hopefully my face is clean. I should probably dress up in a mask, but I'm going to avoid it for today. Bear with me just a few moments. Okay, so we'll get this started here. Yes, you're going to see me looking over to the left side of the screen. I have to apologize for that. That is because I did not print out my poetry. So it's over on the left monitor, so I have to look over there. I wasn't that bright today. But also we've redecorated my room and my study and my bedroom. We had all new carpets put in. So everything that was in this room, including my printer, my computer, and everything, was down in the basement, and we've been slowly moving everything back up. And I don't have my printer back up yet. That's next thing. Been working on getting the study all set and getting the green screen set up and my little video room, I guess you can call it, as well as my workout room, my gym, which is behind my green screen, which you can't see right now, which is a good thing because this room is a mess. So anyway, we'll get this started here. We're going to start with a little bit of a, we'll start with a little bit of a poem, I guess, and then we'll start with then I'll do a ghost story. Yeah, we'll start with a poem. This one was written for myself. I've since modified it thanks to a girl that I've recently met named Arlene, who is amazing and who I love dearly, and I know she loves me as well. So I did a modified version of the poem for her. But that was specific for her, so I'm not going to share the ending that I made for her because it was from my heart to her. So this one is the Before I Met Arlene poem. It's called Where I'm Going. It's called Where I'm Going, and let me start. I wanted to let her know, but I was afraid. I wanted to let her know, but now my heart is torn and frayed. It was torn apart when I learned of her love for another. Now my heart, which for only her it yearned, it will never know of the love we could have had for each other. Saddened and broken though it may be, to live my life alone is the only life that I foresee. I shall live my life as I shall undoubtedly die, alone forever in this life of a lie. So saddened is my heart, it does so cry, alone in this life of strife, I do so sigh. But such a love was never truer, but such a love I have for her, even though I never really knew her. Bear with me just a moment. Sorry, folks. Even though I never really knew her. A love within me that will always remain with a fervor. A love that sadly she will never know. For a fear that made me tremble when talking to her, a frightened kitten I did resemble. I find now there is only one thing to do. If only we could have realized a love that is so true. And I found out that that's not always the case. There is another one that you can love even more so. And I have found her, so that is amazing. And so, never as sad as that poem is, and as ripped to shreds as my heart was at the time that I was writing it, anybody thinking that, oh, this is it, it's over, and there's never going to find happiness again, that's not true. Just gotta be patient. It'll come to you. Sometimes without you even knowing it. Okay, so anyway, that was the little short poem. Please let me know what you think. Shoot me an email to Viathin, V as in victory, IATHIN 75 at gmail.com. If you're in chat, send me a message in chat and I'll be glad to talk to you. And I will respond to almost all messages. I try to respond to everything. If it's a whisper, I will always respond to it. And if someone's in chat here, I will respond to them. So I also promised I would do a ghost story or two. Okay, so this one ghost story happened to me. I was living in a place called Finney Lane in Stamford, Connecticut at the time. It was dead end. Actually, no, I'm sorry. The story actually takes place at the beginning of the story takes place in Dale Street, which was in the projects. Not a very nice neighborhood, but they were, everybody, when you don't have anything and nobody else has anything, everybody tends to help each other out. And that was the case that we saw there. I was maybe 4 or 5 years old at the time, maybe 6, so I don't really remember too much about Dale Street. But I do remember one night waking up in the middle of the night and I saw somebody with a fedora hat on. Kind of like this kind of a hat almost. But it was more of like a, if you've ever seen Dick Tracy movie or Dick Tracy in the comic strips, kind of like his hat with his trench coat just passing by our window, right? Didn't dawn on me that we were up on the second floor. How am I seeing this shadow, pass by the shade of our window? But I did. And I was screaming bloody murder, man. I mean, I was, and screaming like crazy. And my sister's like, shut up. Shut up. You're going to wake up mom and dad. Shut up. Because we were both sharing the room at the time. I think she was like 8 or 10 at the time, and she was yelling at me to shut up, and I was like, ah! So she came over and put her hand over my mouth. She goes, "What is it?" I'm like, pointing to the window. I'm like, there's a man out there or something. I don't know exactly what I said at the time, but she looked and she was just like, "There's nobody there. Just come into my bed." So I ended up sleeping in her bed with her, sleeping on one side. She's like, stay on your side. Make sure you don't wet the bed or anything like that. I was like, okay, making sure. My sister would have killed me if I did. So I had brought over a couple of stuffed animals because when you're 5 or 6, stuffed animals protect you. You always you put them over your head and put them around you. So this way, if anybody's coming after you, they're gonna get the stuffed animals, not gonna get you, right? Isn't that the logic of a child? Or in this case, my case, is like they'll get my sister. They ain't getting me. So they ain't gonna find me underneath all these stuffed animals. So I wake up the next morning and I completely forget about what had happened that night. And I walk down into my mom's room. Mom's in the shower, so I go into her room and I say, "Good morning, Ma." She's like, "Good morning." She's like, "I'll be right out." So I go into her room and I'm just playing with I have 2 Matchbox cars in my hands or something. And I'm playing with them on her bed. And my dog Dusty comes into the room and he's sitting down next to me. He was a German Shepherd, medium size. He was half German Shepherd, half Collie. Awesome dog, one of my best friends. Hello and welcome to the stream. I'm telling a little bit of a ghost tale here, a true story that had happened to me. Feel free to say hello, and if you want to share a ghost story, you're welcome to share so in the chat. I'll be glad to answer it. But at this point in the story, my dog Dusty and I are in my mom's room. I'm about 6 years old, and the closet door starts shaking, and it's shaking like crazy, and shaking, and we're like, I'm like, mom, the door's shaking. What the heck? And my dog is going nuts. I mean, he's got his claws. He's up on his hind legs, clawing at the door and barking, and clawing at the door and barking, and scratching at the door, and door's shaking like crazy. Door's locked, thank goodness, because I can't get in open. And my dog Dusty's pushing me aside. He's on his hind legs, but he's sliding sideways and knocking me over. So, well, not really over, but knocking me out of the way. He was not going to let me near that door. And my mom's like, "What is it? What is it?" I'm like, the closet door's shaking. And she's like, "Oh, it's probably the landlord doing something downstairs." I don't know what that meant. We were on the downstairs, unless there was a basement I didn't know about, which there probably could have been. Like I said, I was only 6, and I don't remember too much about the place that we were living at. But she comes out. As soon as she came out of the bathroom, the noise stopped. The shaking of the door stopped. There was nothing there. No shaking at all. And Dusty's, and she pushes Dusty out of the way. She said, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, "Mom, the door was shaking. The door was shaking." And she goes, "Oh, it's probably nothing." She opens the door. She goes, "See, there's nothing there." Well, when I look down, there's a blue box. It's a night blue, and it's got these white lights on, not lights. White dots on the top of it, like stars. And I always remember just thinking of it as like a night sky, and it was just like a cardboard box with a cardboard box top that you lift up, and it was all painted navy blue, and there was nothing really in it. Except I remember seeing this wooden, this little block of wood, and it had these old time shoes on it, the shoes that you would see a leprechaun wearing, maybe, or some other kind of old work boot shoes, just like 3 of them on it. And she closed up the box, and we closed the door, and she's like, "Oh, it must have been the neighbor downstairs was causing the problem," or not the neighbor, I'm sorry, the landlord. He must have been working on pipes or something downstairs. So she blew it off. We left that house shortly after that. I'd like to think that day or the next day, and moved to Finney Lane, where we lived for a while. And next day, when we're at Finney Lane after we've moved in, my room was like this dark black room. I mean, only thing that was white was the ceiling. All the walls were pitch black, right? And they were what do you call it? they were like a plastic wood that looked like wood, but it was all plastic. That was like vinyl put on the walls, and we were not allowed to remove that at all. And we had this dark blue carpet. Again, we're not allowed to remove it according to our landlord. Any of the other rooms you can mess around with, but not this. The closet for this room, pitch black closet, black on the inside all over it. The door itself was black. It's real spooky. It was a sliding door. So I wake up the next morning, our first morning at Finney Lane, and I start walking towards the kitchen to try and find my mom because I was only like 6 at the time. And there's these 2 red eyes just staring out at me from this closet. Craig, come here. And I'm like, what the? I'm like, mom, 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 mom. And my mouth is going like crazy, and but there's no sound coming out of my lips. My lips are just moving, trying to say mom, and mom is not coming out of my mouth at all. And this thing that's in the closet, it's like got these red eyes, and it looks like some sort of rock creature. And I'm going, he's going, it's okay, I'm not going to hurt you. Come here, Craig. I'm not going to hurt you. All right, Craig, I'm not going to hurt you. Just come here, Craig. I'm not going to hurt you at all. I promise, not going to hurt you. Just come here. Don't call your mom. Don't call your mom. And I'm like, mom. But again, I'm standing still. I can't move, and my mouth is the only thing that can move, and there's no sound coming out of it. And finally, I get up the gumption to say, "Ma!" And I go running out of that room and running into the kitchen, make a right turn, running towards the living room because she's not in the kitchen. And mom, all the way into the living room I go. And my mom is sitting in the living room. She's watching Richard Simmons, which tells you how long ago this was. He was on TV doing his fitness program, exercise program. And my mom's sitting there stark still, not blinking at all. I wave my hand in front of her, nothing. I go over to the couch, and my dog Dusty is laying on the couch. It's just something that's very odd because he's never been allowed to lay on the couch, and never had really. He would always lay on the floor. But as soon as I went over there, as soon as I touched him, he jumped off the floor and looked up at me, and I was like, Dusty. And my mom's like, oh, where'd you come from? And so I'm like, she goes, I didn't see you come in the room. I'm like, I was waving my hand in front of you. I'm like, Mom, there's a ghost in my room. There's a monster in my room. And of course she's like, no, it's just your imagination. And I'm like, no, there is. And my dog Dusty booked out of the living room, heading towards my room, barking like crazy. My mom goes after him. I go walking in with him, and she goes, see, there's nothing there. And we open up the closet, and again, the only thing that's in this closet, a few clothes that we had already put away, was that same box, the orange with the blue, it was night blue all around it, and it had just the white, looked like maybe stars put on the top of the box. And again, inside it had the shoes with the on a wooden block. So my mom again is like, it's just your imagination. It's nothing. And I'm thinking, we gotta get that freaking box out of the room because this has happened in 2 days. We gotta get rid of this thing. But I'm sick, so I have no idea. I'm just thinking of that now. And anyway, then that night I start screaming again because I feel something touching my feet. And I start screaming at night, and my mom and dad both come in, and I tell them about, there's monster something that was in the room. I saw a shadow or something. And my dad finds the block with the shoes on it at my feet, and he goes, where'd you get this from? And mom goes, that's been in your mom's box. And she goes, that's were you playing with that? I was like, no, I've never touched the box. I'm not even going in that closet. Hell no, I'm not going near there. And my mom and my dad ended up getting rid of that box that next morning. And I don't know if they gave it back to my grandmother or what, but as soon as that box was gone, we never had any experiences again at that house. I mean, I was petrified. Still am. So that was my little bit of a ghost story. Welcome to the chat room and to the stream. I hope you're liking my little bit of a story there. I'll have another one in a few moments. Feel free to say hello, to send something in the chat. I'll be glad to respond. If you have any ghost tales you want to share, feel free. One other story that I had told during we did a movie stream on Saturday, and I told this one tale from it's an old tale that was told on out in Georgia on a website called The Moonlit Road. They shared some ghost stories, and my favorite one is one that takes place in out here in Connecticut. We'll call it New Orleans, but I believe out in Louisiana they call it New Orleans. And out in New Orleans, there's a lady named Chelsea, I will call her. And Chelsea has this dream that she's getting pregnant, right? She's dreaming about being pregnant, and she wakes up and she's like, "Oh no, this is a dream about someone being pregnant. That means, that means someone's gonna die." And she looks over at her husband, Rufus. Rufus is laying down next to her, sound asleep, and she keeps looking back at him and then looking towards herself and wondering, which one of us is gonna die? Is it gonna be him or is it gonna be me? Which one of us is gonna be the one to die? Because if you have a dream about being pregnant, the thought is back then that someone's gonna die, and it's somebody it's gonna be either you or someone real close to you. So she keeps looking over, and 7 days later, she found out that Rufus died from consumption, which we now call tuberculosis. And when someone dies in New Orleans, the first thing that people like to do is cover up the mirrors with a white cloth, maybe dipped in a little bit of holy water, but they cover all the mirrors because they're afraid that their loved one's face is going to be stuck in that mirror. And though they love that person, and Chelsea, she loved Rufus. She loved him very much, but she didn't want to have to see his face in the mirror every time she had to use the bathroom or every place she had to go. She had to look in the mirror, see his face staring back at her. She was not wanting to have that. No siree. So she ran through the house, covering all the mirrors with white cloth and put a little bit of holy water on every single one of them, right? It was the whole house. And, later that day, her and her friends and family came up and they helped her to bring Rufus down to the graveyard, right? And they buried Rufus and they say a prayer for him. The priest does his thing. And they come back and they decide, let's have a party for Chelsea. Let's get her to celebrate Rufus's life, because Rufus, he loved music, right? And he loved to dance and he loved to sing. And Rufus, just loved life. So if you're gonna celebrate someone who's died, if you want to celebrate their life, what better way to do it than throw a little bit of party, make people happy, celebrate his life, celebrate the joy that he brought to people, right? Chelsea, she's not feeling too joyous, but she goes along with it. She's like, yeah, whatever you guys want to do. So they have Fiddler starts playing, right? And Fiddler's playing his music, and Fiddler's going, and people are getting up and they're dancing a little bit and they're eating and they're having a little bit of a good time. All of a sudden, a knock comes on the door. The door opens, and there's Rufus walking in. And she goes, Rufus, what are you doing here? You're dead. You're dead. What are you doing here? And he goes, I don't feel dead, wife. He goes, I'm gonna just sit over here by the fireplace, in my chair by the fireplace, because I'm enjoying this music. Fiddler, keep on playing, Fiddler, keep playing, please. And he sits down. He goes, wife, could you please turn up the fire? So she's like, Rufus, you may not feel dead, but you sure look dead. And she says that to herself, so he doesn't hear, right? And so she goes to the fireplace, shaking like I'm shaking right now, and she starts setting the fire up, making it nice and burn bright to warm the place up. And while everybody except for the Fiddler, they all booked out of there as fast as they could. I mean, they were like, we're out of here. They're gone. They flew out the door faster than you could say hi. And he goes, what's going on? And she goes, well, you're dead. He goes, I'm not dead. I don't feel dead. I feel all right. She goes, you may feel all right, but you ain't looking all right, And the Fiddler's playing his music, and he goes, let's get dance, huh, wife? And so he gets up and he starts dancing, and he's doing the jig, and he's jigging, and his body's moving, right? And she's like, she starts to see that his bones are starting to wiggle. And she goes, Fiddler, play faster, Fiddler, play faster. So Fiddler's playing faster, and he's fiddling as fast as he can go. And he's fiddling faster, and Rufus is dancing faster, and he's moving faster, and his body's starting to shake faster. And he's like, whoa, this is fun, right? And he's shaking, and he's dancing. All of a sudden, his bones start to shake a bit more, and one of them starts to fall off. She goes, play faster, Fiddler, play faster, Fiddler. And he's playing faster and faster and faster. as he can go, and he's dancing faster and faster, and Rufus's bones start to shake, and then she goes, play faster, fiddler. He plays even faster, and all of a sudden his string breaks. Well, as soon as his string breaks, Rufus's bones start to fall down, and he goes, Mrs. I'm sorry, ma'am, but my string just broke. I gotta go to the store and get me another string for my fiddle. I'll be right back as soon as I can. He booked out that door as fast as he could. I mean, he was like, I'm not standing around for you to say no. I'm not standing around for you to say, wait, I'm out of there, right? So he books out the door. So it's just him and his wife, and it's just Chelsea and Rufus, rather. And Rufus's head starts to roll on the floor as all of his bones have fallen down. And he goes, what happened to the music, wife? What happened to the music? He goes, the music has stopped, and so have you, Rufus. And he goes, yeah, I guess I sure feel dead now. He goes, would you pick up my bones and bring me back to the graveyard and bury me again, please, wife? So she packed up all the bones, and she puts it in the bag and puts the head in nicely. He goes, I love you, wife. And she goes, I love you too, Rufus, or I did. And she goes walking out the door, and she walks up to the graveyard, and she digs up the grave that he was in, starts putting the bones down now. She's like, and she had an idea. She put the head down, and then she's like, well, if I put the bones back the way the body is, he might decide if he wants to get up and dance again. He may decide he's no longer feel dead anymore. So she puts them crossways, so that this way, one bone's here, one bone's here, so they can't be put back together again. So she crosses all of his bones, and she buries them, and she comes walking back to the house. Now, Chelsea, she was only in her 30s. She was a beautiful looking lady, and all the people in town liked her very much, and they all thought, they all thought that they, when Rufus died, or if Rufus died, that they would all, maybe try to marry her or to become real close friends with her. But, after that episode, nobody went to her house again. Nobody wanted to be anywhere near her because they were afraid that if they started partying, or if music started playing, or if something happened, and Rufus would come after them. They were not taking any chances. So Chelsea to this day has been single and enjoying the single life. Maybe a little sad and lonely, but she gets to go out and hang out with friends every once in a while. But that's my story of Chelsea and Rufus there. I hope you enjoyed that little bit. I'm going to do another little poem for you. And like I said, welcome to the chat. Whoever's on here, feel free to send a message. I'd like to talk to you. Mode Simulator, I'm glad you're here. Welcome. I'm glad you got to hear the end of that story. I hope you enjoyed that little tale. And I believe my girlfriend Arlene is also chatting here. So if she is, feel free to say hi, Arlene. And most appreciate you joining me. I really enjoyed your stream yesterday. It was a lot of fun. You're awesome. So I'm gonna do a poem called "The Sky's Glare," and unfortunately, I cannot look at the camera and do this because my printer is downstairs in the basement because we're redoing my room. So I did not have a chance to print out my poems, so I just have to look over on the left side to see them. And by the way, I'm glad to hear you didn't die too much in your game and in your stream there. That's awesome. You're definitely improving at that game, which is very difficult to do because that water game is like, things just appear all of a sudden, and that is not cool. This one's called Sky's Glare, is what I named it. If you think you can come up with a better name for this one, please let me know. I'd appreciate it. It goes, the darkest skies opens into day, lightest hearts lead into gray. Ghosts are out on the town, I can hear them calling. Oh my, I'm alone at night. Oh my, I'm alone all right. Dead man sits in an easy chair, all under the gray sky's glare. Tired horses draws quietly as I listen to the click, click, click of the heels. Bleeding black, fiery eyes, the long bands of crimson blood draws my eyes. Shadows dressing flowers in slow motion. Casket moved so silently, people move in slow motion. You led the life you dare, all in the gray sky's glare. You left me in my own state of grace. If I could, I'd take you away, take you away, and take you away. Let me breathe your beauty. Let me take you away. Let me take you away. Before me, your ghost does appear, all upon the gray sky's glare. How did you like that one? That one was not one of my favorite ones, but um, probably one of my darkest ones recently, anyway. And I will do. Hello, Arlene. Good to talk to. Good to see you, my love. Spooky. Cool. I was going for spook, so that's good. Got another little short tale before I end this part of the stream, because I don't think I have too many more stories. Maybe one or two more lined up. This one here is a little bit of having to do with bats. Hopefully, nobody here watching is afraid of bats. There's this bat that was flying around at nighttime just before Halloween, right? And the bat comes flying into the cave, and he's got blood dripping from his fangs and dripping from his lips and all over his face. And he goes flying off away from all the other bats, and he just wants to sleep tonight. He's had a long night, he just wants to sleep. So he gets back up onto the top of the cave, and all these other bats gather around him. Where'd you get the blood? Where'd you get the blood? Where'd you get the blood? Oh, please, just leave me alone. You don't want to know. Just leave me alone. He's going, please tell me, where'd you get the blood? Where'd you get the blood? Where'd you get the blood? And he's like, I really don't want to know. I really don't want to. You really don't want to know. Just let me sleep. But they won't let him sleep. They're just bugging him. They want to know where all this blood came from. They haven't eaten in weeks, and they're hungry, right? So he flies out the cave. They all fly out after him. They take a left, and they take a left right behind him, and he flies down to the bottom of the hill. They're flying down behind him, and they fly around the corner, and they fly right behind him, and then they fly around to the next corner, and they fly around to that corner, and then he suddenly stops at this following corner, and they all stop next to him, and he goes, do you see that tree in front of us? They go, yeah. He goes, well, I didn't, and he flies back to the cave. So he came around the corners flying too fast, flew face first right into the tree. That's where he got the blood from. All right, probably a not so funny a story, but I hope that was entertaining enough. And there is one more. This one's a true tale. I don't quite remember when this happened. It was a few years back, and it's not really too much of a ghost tale, but it's a way of, I think, to me, it reminds me of a way of what goes around comes around. And this one kid was well off. He was well-to-do, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Everybody's got their own lot in life. But he was really upset because his mom cut his allowance. Now, he's 23 years old. You'd think he'd be able to start getting a job or something else, not need to have an allowance from his mom and pop, right? But apparently this kid couldn't, and he had been cut off for a couple weeks from his allowance, and he was got so upset about it. So he knew his dad's penchant for picking up a shotgun and pretending to fire his mom. He'd always fire a shotgun, but it was never ever loaded, never ever. It's just as soon as he would get angry, he would just pick it up and fire at his wife. I don't know. Not something I'd ever do, but that's what this guy did to let out his anger. And so this kid, I don't know why I'm calling him kid, he's 23 years old, goes down, grabs his dad's shotgun, loads a bullet into it, closes it up, right? A week goes by, and his dad still hasn't fired that gun. His mom's still not dead, and he's just mad, right? He's like, damn, he hasn't killed her. I'm not getting any money from them anymore, and I'm not going to go out and work my life, so I'm going to just kill myself, he says. He goes to the top of the building, jumps off the roof of the building. He's falling down, possibly to his death, right? As he's falling down off the building, the mom and the father get into an argument. The father grabs a gun, points the shotgun at the wife and pretends to be firing it, and he ends up firing it. It goes off. Luckily, it misses the wife, goes out the window. Scares the hell out of the guy, let me tell you. Scared the heck out of the wife, too, I'm sure. And it hits the son just as he was falling past their window. She hits him straight in the head, killing him. Now, here's the crazy part is, if he didn't load that gun with that bullet, and if the father didn't get angry and fire that gun, kid would have survived, because the people that do the window cleaners, they had just put safety netting there at the building that just that day, so he would have survived, would not have had hardly any injuries at all, had he not loaded the gun to have his dad kill his mom, and instead end up killing himself, or they end up killing him. But the people that investigated it were like, all right, so he was trying to kill himself. He loaded a shotgun to try and to have his mom killed. And it was his friends who admitted to the cops that that the kid was the one that loaded the shotgun. Talk about what goes around comes around, and payback is a you know what. So yeah, I think this one's a bit of a brief one, because I don't not have too many other stories or any other tales. I guess I could share the first poem I had said earlier today for those that have just come in. Yeah, it is quite a crazy coincidence. It was when I read that in the newspaper and then heard it on TV, it was like, holy crap. I'm like, does this really happen? Could that ever possibly really happen? And to find out that it actually really did happen was crazy. And oh, here's another true one. This one actually happened down the street from me. There was a guy that was working. This happened on Halloween. Guy was working. No, let me tell you what. I'm not gonna tell you how the guy got there first. I'm sorry, I'm telling the story wrong. So there's this little kid who kept seeing this clown man in his room every single night, and he kept telling his mom, Dad, there's a clown in my room. There's a clown in my room. Every night he would say he would see this clown, and this clown would sit and talk to him, and he'd be eating their food, and they weren't believing their son. But the mom, something was going off in her head. She was like, maybe there's something to this. So she decided one night she was going to stay up, and she stayed in the room across the hall from him, left the door open just ajar, and she watched. And sure enough, someone come walking by the hallway, going into their kitchen, dressed in a clown outfit, getting some food, and then sitting down in the room with their son and talking to the son. She woke up her husband, and they called the cops, and they ended up getting this guy arrested. Turns out this guy who had worked on their house, he worked on the roof of their house and some other part of their house, probably about a year ago, had been living in their attic and coming down with his son. He had a little son, and he was living up in the attic without them ever knowing it, and going downstairs to get food during during the nighttime or whenever they were away, and bringing it up to share with his son. Now, how scary is that? You hire a contractor thinking that they're gonna just be working on just your house, and find out that they built like basically a little place for themselves to stay, and found a way for them to enter your house. Whoo, that is scary. And the fact that it happened just down the street from me, even more scary. I was like, holy crap. I think me and my nephews, and I think my dad as well, went through my entire house checking to make sure there was nobody here or in the basement, and even checked our attic just to double check that there was nobody in there or nothing out of place, because that spooked the heck out of me, and it also spooked the heck out of quite a few of my neighbors too. So, yeah, that was quite spooky. And to have the police come driving by and be like, yeah, this guy was just living here. He had been living there for almost a year before he got caught. I believe they said that he had worked on the place in in January of that year, and he got caught on Halloween Day. or Halloween night rather. Now that's crazy to be. That's another spooky, crazy coincidence to actually get caught on Halloween night in a clown costume. Gotta love it. And a clown costume of all things. I mean, I don't know about you, but I am terrified of clowns. And to have someone walk around in a clown costume, yee, and to be up talking to your children, Oh, I don't know how that the father and the mother did not want to kill that guy. Yeah, and and I swear it's 100% true. I'm not crossing my fingers. I swear to God, it is 100% true story. I'll see if I can find the news article and post it one day. But that was about what, 4 years, 4 or 5 years ago. And trying to think, I thought I had a few more stories and poems lined up, but I did not, unfortunately. So if you guys want to chat about something else, I'll be glad to talk. Um, or if you think we should end it here, we can end this stream here, and I'll come up with some more ghost tales and stuff for later this week or next Monday. What'd you think of this little hosting so far? I wonder if I have a. Oh, there is one other thing I could do. A poem I did for a friend of mine who passed away. If I still have it here. And of course, my program decided to lock up. Great. Give me just another moment. You like that? The background actually came from an app on Steam. What was it called? It's called trying to think of remember the name of it. I'm sorry. Um, I think it's called GIF Creator, and somebody had actually created that and allowed it for us to share it. I just got a message from Arlene saying that I sound a little bit southern while I was trying to tell the tale of Rufus. That's pretty cool. Sometimes I can start getting a real good southern accent, and if I start hearing someone speaking Irish, I can start talking with a real good Irish accent too. But usually I can get, if I start getting into the southern accent, oh boy, I can really continue on the southern accent with no trouble. And unfortunately, I am not able to get the my program to work to find the other poem I had written. Oops, sorry about that. We'll move that over there. Let's see if we have it here. I apologize for not being better prepared for this one. Usually I'm much better prepared than this and have everything already lined up. But I did not prepare well for this one at all today. Usually I try to prepare like a day or two in advance if I can. Oh, thank you, Mo. I appreciate that. No. You've been getting very good at getting very prepared lately. So you've been improving on that, definitely. Okay, so that's my poem from before, but not the one with the dead friend. Where did it go? Document. Oh, yeah, don't have the one for the dead friend. I'll have to find that and do that next time. But I do remember of one tale that's it's an old time radio show story that I had heard a long time ago, and it's called the Death That Walks. And what happens in the story, right? There's this couple. They're professors, lady professor and a male professor, married, husband and wife, and they're driving along. They're on their way heading to. They're on vacation, and they're heading out to take a look at this old mansion, right? And they're driving along, and this old mansion comes. They go up to this old southern mansion, and it's got these nice pillars of ivory, white pillars of ivory, like the Greek and Romans would have, and got this beautiful mansion house in it, but it's starting to fall apart a little bit. And they're walking around it because they're both in at the state university. They're both professors of archaeology and old houses. And he's a professor of archaeology, and she's one for a professor for sorry is leading for antiquities, let's say. And they go walking around this place, and they're looking, they're knocking on the door, but no one's answering. And they see in the back there's this crypt, or well, they don't know it's a crypt yet. They walk to this place. It's stone, and it's got this gate, and it says "Beware to all who enter." Right, and they're not paying much attention to this sign. So they go walking inside of it, and as they're walking inside, sorry, bear with me just another moment, just checking one more thing here. So anyway, as they go walking inside, they're walking inside this place, and they see this stone table in the middle of this, like, I guess most people nowadays would call it a shed. They're walking around here, and they see that they've got nice table decorated with the urn and stuff, and something else decorated over here with like what do you call it? A vase and some flowers in it, and then they got, like, little lanterns and stuff all around. And they start to read up, and it says something like, "Beware all who disturb this casket, beware all who enter, who disturb this grave, for he who lived will walk again," right? And it will follow you. And on the crypt itself, they're trying to make out what it says, but they're not paying much attention. They start to move the top of the crypt, and or a tomb, I guess, not tomb, top of the casket, but it's a stone casket. Anyway, the groundskeeper comes walking. Goes, "What are you guys doing in here? Get out of here!" And they're like, "We were just looking around. We were curious. This is a really nice house. We wanted to get some history on it. We wanted to learn, about this crypt." He goes, "Didn't you see the sign? Didn't you see the sign? You do not disturb what's lying here, because it will follow you. It will come and get you. It will kill you. It has killed others. It has done it before." So, they don't believe him. They're like, "No, that's not possible. Nobody wakes from the dead. Nobody comes following you, right?" So the crypt keeper, gets him out of there, and he brings him over to their house, and he tells him this story about how people had disobeyed. That's why he put the sign up on the top of the shed saying, "Beware who enter, for it will follow you." He goes, because it has happened before where people have disturbed this crypt, and he has gotten up and he has followed them, and he has killed them, or at least that's what legend says. So they're like, "Yeah, we don't believe in that legend, bull crap, anything like that," right? So they get in their car, and they start driving. They start driving towards town, and they call their friends at the university. They call another professor at the university at one of their stops and say, "Hey, have you ever heard of this legend?" And they tell them the story of what's happened. And as they're at the restaurant, The waitress comes over. She goes, "Oh, there was a guy with these like really dark eyes, and his face was all gray, and his skin looked like it was, really, really sunken into his face, and like he looked like he was death itself. And he wanted to let me tell you that he'll see you guys later, that he'll follow you, and he'll see you later." And they're like, "What? What are you talking about?" And then it's like they get back into their car, after they pay their bill and after they've eaten their food, pay their bill, get in the car, and they start driving further into town. And everywhere they stopped, they're like, "Oh, we wanted to let you know this guy with this really gray skin, really eyes sunken in, really dark eyes, and really white hair, really skinny guy, said he was going to follow you, and he will see you guys later, and he'll come for you." And they're starting to get a little freaked out about this now. And this is in like 5 shops that they've gone to, and they've all said that this person has seen them and that he'll follow him and he will see them later. They get to the hotel and he's like, "You know what? If it's just the town, this is a small town, they're just playing a trick on us. It's nothing to be worried about. They're just having fun with us. It's just, how it is. They all get on the telephone wire and they're all sharing this story together. Don't worry about it, hon. There's nothing to worry about. It's nothing to worry about." And they're like, and she's like, "Okay, I'm starting to calm down." She's starting to relax. She goes to get into bed. She goes, "Will you come to bed with me now?" She goes, "I'm exhausted after a long day." So he goes to get in bed with her, and all of a sudden she's hearing someone walking along the top of the roof of their ceiling above them. They're hearing people walking, or someone walking back and forth, really loudly, and stomping his shoe, boom, 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 as he's walking. So she calls down. The wife calls down to the person at the desk down at the hotel, and she goes, "Hey, who's renting the room up above us? Because they're making a lot of noise, walking back and forth, back and forth. There's no one above you. That room is vacant. It's locked. Nobody's allowed up in that floor at all." And she goes, "Really?" She goes, "Can you send someone out there to check?" So they send somebody up there to check, and there's nobody up there. So she's getting nervous. Now she's hearing knocking on the walls, and something just tells her to look outside, and she looks outside, and there's this face just staring at her, and it's a creepy old dude, and he's down at her car. They're on the second or third floor. He's down near her car, just sitting on the car, just staring, looking up at her like, "I'm coming for you eventually." And he's just staring at her, and his eyes are all dark and sunken into his face, and he just looks, as if his skin's falling apart, as if he's death itself. And she starts to scream, "Ah!" And the husband comes over, and he's like, what?" And she looks down, and he starts to see him too, and he's like, it's just he shakes for a moment and looks away and looks back, and it's gone. He's like, "Oh, it's just the weather playing tricks on us. Let's get to sleep." So they go to sleep, and they wake up the next morning, and they sign out. They're like, "We're getting out of this hotel. We're heading back home. We're done with this town," right? They get back in their car. They drive all the way home, and nothing happens on the way home. Everything's good. They go into their house, and she's upstairs, and he goes. The lights are all off, and even though there's power, the lights are all off, not working. Door was wide open, so he goes to look around, or no, she goes to look around the house to see if she can find what it was. He's looking down in the basement to turn on the power, so he gets the power going, and he comes up the stairs, and she goes, "I think he's here." And she hears knocking, walking upstairs, and he goes to walk upstairs to find out what it is, and he hears her scream back downstairs, and he goes running downstairs, and she's dead. And he's looking all over, he's in a panic. He's like, he sees a knife there, it's all bloodied. He goes looking around, and he can't get the knife out of her because it's stuck in her, and he's looking around like, what's going on? What happened? And he's now, his wife is there dead, and tears run down his eyes, and he's like, who could possibly do this? And he's looking around the house trying to find it, and here comes a guy, and he takes off, the dark black eyes sunken into the face and everything. And he goes, "You didn't know? You didn't know it was me, my professor, my friend?" And he rips off the mask, and it's like one of his best friends. And he goes, "If I can't have your wife, you can't either." And he tries to kill him, and it ends up, they end up struggling, and he ends up killing the professor. But as he does so, the police arrive and end up arresting him. Um, that was pretty weird. I got a rewrite of that I'm working on for that was written back in like 1940s on an old time radio show program, and I'm working on rewriting that into an actual story. Not an actual story, but a better story, a better telling of it, much longer, and maybe making it into a book. I think that would probably be awesome. And maybe I'll do get a couple people here to act out a part. Maybe I'll do it as a whole scene and have people acting it out. That might be fun. But anyway, I think that's all that I have as far as Tales goes for today. How did you like that little bit of a crazy story? And I want to thank you very much for watching. Sorry, I keep looking down instead of up at the camera thingamajiggy. A lot of the stories I find, either a couple of them I've come up with on my own. The one that I told about, the lady out in New Orleans, was from a site called the Moonlit Road, which was Tales Told in Georgia. So it's like the Moonlit Road Tales in Georgia. I'll see if I could find the actual site and send it to you. But otherwise, at archive.org, under the audio section, there's an old time radio show, old time radio or OTR section, and they have all kinds of ghost stories and suspense stories, and some of them real and a lot of them made up. They're really good shows that are usually about 30 minutes long to an hour, and they're all like just radio plays that are just because these all occurred before TV was around. So they would act them out just like you would on TV, but with sounds and sound effects that were just like insanely good at that time. Probably quite difficult for us to recreate since a lot of the equipment that they used is no longer available these days. So I'm glad you liked the stories, and hope you liked some of the poems I shared too as well. And now suddenly silence. I don't know what else to say now. I guess I could talk about my wife, my life, my wife. Yeah, I don't have a wife yet, but hopefully that will be changing soon. My life, and well, I can't say hopefully. I'm pretty sure it will be once certain things happen. Yes, writing is I find it to be a very good thing. It helps to get me out of my own mind sometimes, because being in here can be quite spooky. So writing is a way for me to let out a lot of anxiety, a lot of issues that I've had in the past. Nowadays, I don't really have too many issues to write about, so it's quite difficult to sit down and write things. So I have to be a little bit more. Uh, I have to think a little bit more about it, and then it starts coming to me once I get zoned into like that specific sphere of like, do I want to write something happy? Do I want to write something sad? Do I want to write a mystery, or do I want to write something it's gonna scare the heck out of me? Because I get scared quite easily, and usually I try to if I'm writing it, especially something scary, it's usually in the middle of the night, and usually when there's a thunderstorm about. So as I'm writing, I'm usually jumping like crazy and screaming too and scaring the heck out of myself. So that's always fun. and usually not so fun for any of my family members who sleep upstairs. Because I own a house with my mom and dad. They live up on the second floor. I live down on the first floor. And yeah, whenever they start screaming, they're like, "Who do you think you're? What do you think you live in this place alone? What do you think there's somebody else coming into this house?" I would like jump, especially if I'm doing writing something that's really terrifying for me, and it's thunder and lightning out, or just real heavy rain, and I hear someone walking around upstairs. Like, yeah, immediately jumping out of my skin, like I'm out of here, and usually letting a scream. I don't know how many times when I was younger. This one's funny. I had just watched the Prince of Darkness movie. It had just coming out onto VHS tape, and me and my cousin had just watched it. My cousin went to sleep. He was maybe like 10 or 11 at the time, and I was 13, 14, 13, I think. And I decided to go out, and I had cereal with me, a bowl of cereal, and for some reason I went out into the kitchen with the bowl of cereal to, I think, get a drink or something, and my dad is standing there in the kitchen, but I don't know it's my dad. I just see this figure because it's so dark, and all I see is a lit cigarette. Right, so I see the end of the cigarette lit, and I hear hi or something, and I like immediately freak out and pick up the bowl of cereal, fling it right at him, like ah! And there goes the cereal and milk all over my dad's face, and the bowl is like on top of his head. I don't know how it perfectly landed on top of his head, but the bowl is like covering his entire head, and he's got milk and Raisin Bran dripping all over this down his face. And oh, he's like, "What the hell is wrong with you, son?" And I'm like, "Huh?" I'm like, "That is you?" He goes, "Who the hell else do you think it would be? Who else lives in this house with you besides mom and me and your cousin who's sleeping right now?" And I'm like, I thought you were some demon or something. All I saw was that red light moving, and I hear Craig. It's like, boom, there goes the cereal. And his face was covered. I mean, and his clothes were covered too, and the floor was just soaking wet with milk and Raisin Bran all over the place. And of course, who got the job of picking it up? You would think it would have been me, but my dad was like, "Go to bed. I don't want to see you. I don't want to hear you. Just turn around and go to bed. I'll take care of it. Just get the hell out of here." And I'm like, my hands are up. I'm like, "I'm gone." Go right into my room and close the door. And the next morning, my mom's like, "What were you thinking?" And I was like, "I was thinking I was going to go out and get some juice to go with my cereal." She goes, "What were you watching last night?" I was like, "Well, I was told we were watching Darkness or whatever that movie was." And she goes, "Did I not tell you guys you're not supposed to watch that movie?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Didn't you watch the anniversary?" "Yeah." "And you were frightened and you were scared of your dad standing there?" She goes, "Wait till you see." She goes, "Wait till you see what I could do to you." I'm like, let's not say we did. And she goes, "You're grounded for like, I don't know. I was grounded for like 3 days or something." But she was just like, "How could you be so jumpy? Who else do you think would be in this house?" I'm like, "I have no idea, but considering we had been robbed at one time only, thank goodness," I was like, "I'm not taking any chances." I had no idea that was dad standing there at the time. But man, to this day, I just think of his face just filled with Raisin Bran dripping down and milk. Oh my goodness. How he did not kill me that day, I will never know. He was just like standing there, just like, "I don't know what I'm gonna do with this boy." But okay, so that's my last tale of the night. Ta-da. I hope everybody enjoyed it. I'll be stopping the stream in a little bit. Unless there's anything else anybody would like to share. Yeah, thank goodness it was just the Raisin brand. And good night. Thank you for joining me, Moat Simulator, and thank you, Arlene, for joining me. I will talk to everybody later. Have a good night. Sleep tight, and a good morning to wherever you may be, and a good afternoon. Love everyone. Take care.